All right, GBA Nation, welcome back. Another edition of the GBA Show Live. Once again, I'm joined with Jeff Ferguson, Tom Strasser tonight. I'm going to talk a little hoops, and we are really excited for our special guest joining us tonight. Everyone knows the Ohio legend, the Ohio State legend, and current Minnesota Lynx assistant coach, Katie Smith. So we're excited to have her on the show tonight, talking about basketball and kind of what's going on in her world and some things coming up. Obviously we just missed out on the second annual Katie Smith Classic, but we're hoping to get that in here very soon. So are you guys all hear me okay?
Yes.
Sounds good.
Yep. Tommy, how did you pull off Katie Smith to bring her in here?
Hey, I can't reveal my sources, but hey, if you think my guest tonight is big time, we got a big one tomorrow as well. That's just a little tease, as we call it in the entertainment business.
Yes.
Did she play for the Oakland Raiders? What were you doing here? You don't have a Buckeyes hat.
Hey, GBA right here.
And that's,
all right, guys.
4 years old.
Good.
All right, guys. So Katie is on here with us. So let's get this show started. All right, welcome back. And Katie, how we doing?
Doing well, actually, doing really well.
Good to see you. And thank you for taking the time to join us here tonight.
And great to see your faces. I know I'm missing you and missing what you're out there doing.
Yeah, we as well. And it's weird for us being home this time of year, and I'm sure it's the same for you. There's no basketball going on, nothing getting prepared for on the weekends, and it's a little bit odd right now.
It's quiet. I'm trying to embrace it because, as you guys know, you don't get a lot of this. So it's part of it's trying to be patient and somewhat enjoy the downtime that you are getting, because you know how it is. Once it starts up, it starts up.
Absolutely. So, just to kind of start us off, right now with everything going on and the quarantine and stuff, kind of what's the day in the life with Katie Smith right now?
What is it? So we just finished the WNBA draft. So that was last Friday. So a lot of our prep and time spent was, we didn't get to see the players live in the NCAA tournament, the top players that were going to go through that, some of those matchups. But other than that, we were able to still watch film. We're able to call the players, do some intel gathering via them or people that are in their circles, so we could really prep for, who we were going to draft. So kind of business as usual up until Friday. And then now it's a little bit of a wait and see. Our season was supposed to start on the 26th. I was in training camp, and first game was May 15th. Obviously that's been pushed back and with no date. So we're just somewhat trying to stay low key, and just kind of prepare. So we're doing some basketball stuff, trying to think about how to engage our team. Obviously Coach Reeve is going to be sending out stuff for us to do, maybe even start prepping for scouting, for the season. Because once they say, hey, it's time to play, it's time to get to camp, it's time to come to Minnesota, we'll probably have very limited time to actually practice, and games will come quickly. So we'll be doing some basketball work, but I'm doing a little house fixing up, bought some shutters the other day. Kind of cleaning up the flower beds. And so a lot of busy work I made my den that was kind of a storage place into an office. So yeah, I'm staying busy.
That sounds like about every one of us. We're trying to find something to do and catch up on things we haven't been able to do.
Yeah.
Well, hey, Coach, on the topic of the draft this Friday night, which, by the way, I don't know if you heard, was the highest rated ratings-wise in the WNBA draft history. Mm-hmm. More people watched that draft than any other WNBA draft. But looking at after the fact, when some of the so-called experts like to give their draft grades, the majority of them said that your Minnesota Lynx actually won the draft. Could you kind of talk about your three players briefly? And was there anyone that when you came time to draft, you were like, wow, they're still there?
Yeah, it was, the draft is interesting. And first of all, the coverage that we got, it helps that not a lot of sports going on right now. And ESPN had us front and center on a Friday night in prime time. So that was helpful. There was a couple big names in the draft. So that was part of it, I think, with the viewership. And I think it's awesome. And then the draft in general, there's usually 3-4 players at the top who, boom, these are. And then it gets a little murky in the sense of talent level is similar. And then you're just trying to vet, is it a team need? Is it a positional need? Is it best available? Like, who are you going to go after? So for us, we went at 6, was people probably pretty surprised with, was with Kiki Herbert Harrigan, who was a power forward out of South Carolina. It's a position we need, but everybody kind of assumed we would go with a point guard at that spot. We just thought she had a lot of energy. Obviously, upside potential is a dangerous word, but she's hungry, she's competitive, she can guard people, she can stretch the floor. Just think that she's going to be a good fit. And then we were surprised that Crystal Dangerfield dropped all the way to number 16, which is the top half of the second round. She's a really solid point guard out of Connecticut. She's small, 5'5", 5'6", but really good PG, could shoot it. So we were surprised that she dropped, and we're really pleased to be able to fill 2 positional needs, one at the power forward and one at the point guard position. And then we, in the third round, got I think a really good competitor, a really good basketball player with Erica Agumike. Her sisters, Nneka and Shanae, already play in the league. So she kind of understands the deal, has a motor, and just, I think, is going to be something that is going to come and bring a lot when we finally get on the floor.
All right. And Coach, one other thing with the draft and with tomorrow night, a lot of people are excited about the NFL draft, but it's going to be, a virtual draft. Now, you experienced it firsthand this past Friday. Your last 2 years with the Liberty, it was regular, normal draft. How different was participating in the virtual draft? Was there anything that made it more simplified, and what was the biggest difficulty?
For us, obviously, it was the biggest thing for coaches is that we're not in the same room debating and talking and throwing ideas and looking at things on the board and, this team and this team. We're actually on Zoom calls, kind of like we are right now, and discussing scenarios and players. We did have the draft. We, were on the call a little earlier. There was a cushion so that just in case there were technical difficulties, that's the thing. You're relying on technology to make this thing happen. The internet is huge and everybody having a good connection. So we gave ourselves, the league gave the teams and the broadcast a cushion to make sure that if there were any glitches, there would be time to correct and make sure that the names and things that were picked and chosen still were able to go. And then obviously the interviews with players, trying to set that up and have the hats there and the mics and have them all set up to be able to do an interview with ESPN or whoever's covering it was another piece of it. But I thought everybody involved did as well as they possibly could. So it was just a lot of preparation, a lot of, checking of, hey, this is the app and this is the download and here's the link and this is what you're going to do if this happens, and then kind of following through. But I thought they did a really nice job for what we had to do. But thank goodness for technology to be able to pull all this off.
And yes, Katie, and that's exactly what I was just going to say. We talked to a lot of people on here, and even just talking with family, and we talk about how fortunate we are, going through the things we're going through, to be able to have the technology to be able to sit down and talk to each other this way, or like you said, just do a virtual draft, which is never nothing like that's ever been done.
I mean, it's to have the access we do right now to as you said, communicate to each other. I mean, you can do. Obviously, in the schooling right now, the distance learning is huge to be able to have your teacher and the work and everything being transmitted so easily. And then, obviously even basketball. I mean, kids can find workouts left and right. And there's people doing stuff and then engaging and learning. So you really can do as much as you want to right now, as long as you do have, internet and a computer and or a phone. Like honestly, it's at your hands, which is a great thing.
Did the draft doing virtual, did it impact as far as trades and stuff like that, or did it make it more difficult?
It's just you try to think about everything from the jump, right? You think about the scenario. So but there's little things like we made a trade in the third round. It's as the draft is happening, you're just wondering and waiting. And then if there's something that you've talked about, then you make, then, Coach Reeve is texting other people and trying to check things out and see if things would happen. So it really is a game time decision. I mean, and that's kind of what you do. There's some trades that happen before, but a lot of them are on the fly, but you talk about them, prep for them. If this happens, this is what we do. So that's where the scenario piece comes in, is that you try to hash out all of that, and what might happen, and then you go from there. So telephones, the texting, the calling is still there, and then obviously you just share it with the league when the time comes.
Hey, Katie, thanks for coming on. Just a couple questions before we get to the GBA part of this stuff. So on the draft, when the players get drafted, does that mean that they make the team? Is there another process that you have to go through? Can you pick some free agents up? Just to how does that whole process work with you putting your team together?
Yeah, so it's a little bit of everything. So during this off season, right around January, end of January, February is the free agency period, and we're all looking at who's coming up and what are the big players and who do you want on your team. And then it's like recruiting. It's like college recruiting. You're trying to sell your team and trying to find the pieces that you think can make you better. So you go through that in the free agency, try to fill holes. And then obviously that'll dictate and kind of plug holes that you might think you need in the draft, and it may move you in a different direction on a need. So then you draft. And so then positional need, best player. And then you bring them into camp, and whenever camp starts, it's not guaranteed. Your first round is not guaranteed. Your second rounder is not guaranteed. And your third round. It's very hard for second and third rounders to make teams. It does happen. It's not the usual thing. Just because there's so many, there's only 12 roster spots, 11 or 12, depending on your salary cap. And you already have 10 coming back and you have one draft, it's tough. So honestly, first rounders usually make it unless something just isn't, they're just not as great, or they just didn't project or do as well as you thought. And then the second and third rounders, it can happen. It's just not always the case. So it is tough to make teams. It is, and in training camp rosters, if you don't get drafted, sometimes we need players in training camp to train before players come over from overseas. And then sometimes it's a chance where if an injury happens or players go overseas for, FIBA, some of those things, you might need kind of replacement players. And that's when some of the players you bring to training camp may get a shot to actually be in the league for a little bit. So tough to make the league. Getting drafted does not mean you make a team.
Gotcha. Sounds good. Now let's go back in time a little bit. Katie Smith is junior high player, 5th, 6th grade, junior high player, maybe a high school player. The coronavirus comes.
Yeah.
What are you doing at home? And just I was watching a video the other day, Mike Flynn from Blue Star.
Mm-hmm.
And man, he was talking about, I don't know, I forget the year he was talking about, but how tough he was and how relentless he was and how you played. And I know there's a Blue Star camp, maybe in Indiana, somewhere that you played and all that stuff. So back to your playing days, what do you do in your time off now that if you had this happen to you?
Oh, I would be outside. I mean, you couldn't keep, if the weather was it's pretty nice. I mean, it's in the 50s, like 40s. I would be outside. Like first of all, I'd be outside helping with chores and, playing around. I would be inside doing some stuff, but I would be outside. I would do jumping rope. I'd work on my ball handling. I'd be playing. I'd be shooting. I usually I would go to camps, obviously during my time, college camps were really big, my high school camps. I would take all the drills they gave us, like the ball handling drills, the shooting drills, the form drills, even the agility stuff. I would even run around our house. It's a big old yard up a hill and around and get cardio in, but I love jumping rope. So I basically would take everything that I knew and, they would teach us and go home and practice. So I could see myself right now just being outside all the time, playing around, obviously working on my game, but also being outside and, helping out with chores and just staying busy. But I would be doing a lot of basketball because I would probably like doing that more than schoolwork.
And you see a lot of that. You see a lot of kids and a lot of videos now on the social media and some, they're kind of challenging each other and doing workouts and stuff like that. So it's
hard, kids are wired different. Like there's certain kids that are driven and you know what I mean, want to put in that work. There's others it takes a little bit of a little nudge, and then there's some that's really hard to get them to get outside and work on their game. And so it's just like everywhere. It's and this time though the self motivation and the want to kind of stay on task is probably really big, because you just can't force kids to go out and do stuff if they're not feeling like it. So it's tough, because you don't want them to sit around either. It's all the time.
Absolutely. GBA players, if you're listening out there, there's one best to ever play the game. So take her advice and get out there and get your work in.
Exactly.
Tommy, go ahead.
Yeah, Katie, the one thing, we were so excited to have you become part of the GBA family. And not only the name Katie Smith, that rings a bell, but when you can throw the Hall of Fame label on that, this is kind of a two-parter. March 31st, 2018, when you become an inductee of the Naismith Memorial Basketball Hall of Fame, do you remember exactly when you got the phone call? Was you expecting it? And number two, when you got to the inductions, who was the one person that you seen and you thought, whoa, I'm a part of their fraternity?
Yeah, it was wild. It's man, it was. So you play, and it wasn't anything I ever expected, but I remember exactly where I was. So 2 years ago, the Final Four was in Columbus, Ohio. It was our first year hosting the Women's Final Four. I had somewhat helped a little bit with the bid, and had a lot of events and things to go to and to be a part of. And so I'm literally walking down by Nationwide Arena, and I knew I was going to get the call, because it was whether I got in or I didn't get in, I was getting a phone call. So I'm walking down the street to my car. I'm leaving something for the Final Four. I can't remember what it was, and I see the caller ID. It's a Springfield, Massachusetts number. So I'm like, well, here it is. This is the call. And so I picked up, and he said, well, I'm going to make your day a lot better. And so right off the jump, he put me at ease, and I couldn't help but grin, and then couldn't wait to call my parents, and then obviously you kind of had to keep it under wraps. And usually they fly you out to the men's Final Four, and they introduce everybody there. And because of it being in Columbus and so many things, and the people that were there, that my family, all the events, and my former teammates, sorry about that, teammates, and the Columbus Quest were there, and I had friends in town. I asked if I could stay in Columbus and not go to, I think it might have been Houston, and they allowed me. So I got to celebrate my Naismith Hall of Fame induction at the Women's Final Four, which for me felt fitting because it's with the people who were part of my career, and many of the people that were very closely involved in my career. So that's when I found out. And it was just, it's just kind of mind blowing. It's a little surreal. And then the other part is when I was there, the class, I kind of knew the guys in the class. I knew Steve Nash, I knew, Ray Allen, I knew, those guys. It was, so you're kind of like, these guys are in your time frame. But I'm not gonna lie, Reggie Miller, you got Larry Bird, Patrick Ewing's there. It's just, to see the people that you grew up kind of watching, and then also hear some stories about, some of the folks that have really contributed. But man, there's some faces there that you're just like, whoa, like this is nuts. So those are some of them. We get invited back every year. I haven't had a chance to go back yet. But I would truly look forward to going back and just enjoying it as a spectator, and no pressure, but to just be a part and to kind of meet your, fraternity and sorority folks when it comes to the hall.
Well,
hey, fellas, how sweet is that to know when she's getting the call? We were there as well at Nationwide Arena watching the national championship game.
Well, and
Thanks, Jeff.
that's exactly right, because I said you were kind of leading us right into where Jeff was going, because I believe there at that Final Four, the national championship game, we ran into you, and that's when they got the idea of the whole getting this Katie Smith Classic back together again. So it was kind of coincidence that all happened right there. So that kind of leads into where Jeff was going now. So
yeah, go ahead, John. That's all right.
Well, yeah, just I just talking about I know you and Jeff have talked many a times over the years, trying to get together and get something done, and then you happen to be at that Final Four, that national championship game. We ran into you and kind of brought it up again, and you said, "Hey, give me a call," and then it all kind of fell together from there. And last year being the first year for the event in Columbus, we had an overwhelming response from teams and kids, and what a great weekend of basketball. We had 120 teams there playing in Dublin, and you were able to come in, you spent the day, and the more coaches and players you would not believe that talk about, hey, Katie was at my game today, because you bumped around from from location to location, watching games and things like that. And, you not knowing that, but us on this side, hear that, and it means a lot to those kids. But, wow, what a great first year for that event.
Yeah, I had some camps way back when, and you guys know, and probably a lot of people know how hard you guys work, but I don't think everybody knows how difficult and just all the things you have to do, the gym space, the communication, the everything, the logistics. And it's something it's hard to do. I mean, it's a full-time job, and I've always wanted to do it. I always wanted to give back and just have a good time, have a place where teams and coaches and can go, and it's run well, and go compete and be able to go and watch some of these kids, because again, these kids, somebody's going to come out of these things and be playing at Ohio State or wherever, and maybe go play professionally and then be an Olympian. It's just going to be fun. It's going to be fun to be able to say, oh, I saw you play when you were this old. So for me, it means a lot, because I love giving back, but I also love working with you guys, because I think you guys do an amazing job, and you treat people well, you work hard, you put on a good gig, and ultimately that's why we're doing these things, because I think we're aligned in the right way. You want to treat people well and do a really good job, and at the end of the day, that's what I want. I want them to go and have good memories, playing basketball and hanging with their friends, and hopefully making some memories and being inspired in some way. You never know who's going to get that little flicker of like, man, this is what I want to do. Like, this is what I really want to do. So I appreciate you guys for doing the heavy lifting. I'll keep doing the lightweight stuff.
Well, I tell you, it was something to be, just said when all those kids was in line. I actually was having you guys talk. I was trying to find some of the pictures, and if I was coordinated enough to get them up here to show some pictures from last year, I would, but it's not working. So anyway, the line was just crazy for the autographs and the pictures, and the kids loved it, from fourth graders all the way up to high school. So it was awesome to, for the first year. This year, unfortunately, it's put back for right now. Tentatively, we're trying to schedule it, just so everybody, GBA Nation knows, as soon as the governor and that lifts the bans and we're allowed doing things, we're going to try to work on a schedule. That is one of our top priority tournaments that we want to try to do. So as soon as that happens, then we'll get with Katie, try to work out a date, and then we'll make that announcement, so we could try to do that for sure.
Yeah, and as I said, I loved it, and being able to meet and greet, and that's why I like, if you're, I might not be able to get there this year, depending on the date. I hope so. But one of the things I love is the face-to-face, and you're gonna put your name on something, is making sure that it's the best it can be, and to be able to be there as much as possible. So as I said, it's special for me, because I was them, and that's where it started, and no clue that having a professional basketball career or playing in the Olympics 3 times and getting into Naismith was even possible. So I look at them and I'm always like, man, you just never know where this game is going to take you. So I'm pumped, and I hope whenever it happens, it happens. But it will be here for years to come. So it's we'll keep it going.
Yeah, we couldn't be happier to be working with you. We appreciate you taking your time and coming for the weekend. We appreciate you coming on. I know you're busy now with everything and getting ready for your season. And guys, do you have anything else you want to add?
No.
We won't keep her.
Yeah, I know she's busy. I just wanted to, kind of go. We appreciate and are very honored on the GBA side to be able to work with you and be able to host an event in your name. What you've done for girls basketball, over the years, and it's kind of what we got into it for is, we always we don't refer to our event, as tournaments. They're events and things that kids are going to remember, whether they're a kid trying to make their junior high team or somebody, it's got aspirations. So we're open to all levels and bring, being able to work with somebody like you that kids can look up to is an honor for us. And we're very, very thankful for that.
Yeah. No, I appreciate you guys a lot, and I'm glad you're doing this to keep these kids engaged and excited about what's to come, because it's coming. We just don't know when, but that lock on the door is going to be opened, and it's going to be a sprint. So you better be ready.
Yes, it is, and we appreciate it. We look forward to it. We just wanted to let GBA Nation know that we definitely are going to do the tournament, just depending on when and where, and we'll get that information to you. Tommy, do you have anything else?
No, Katie, thanks for joining us. The all-time leading scorer in women's basketball, and I'm sure you're enjoying the Last Dance.
I'm a Jordan girl. That's what I grew up on. I fell in love with that game. I mean, I'm not gonna lie, like that, the way they played. I mean, you had to earn everything, and I love LeBron and everything, but I am definitely the old school Jordan, and that I'll take that.
Absolutely. Okay, Katie, thanks again for joining us tonight. I'm sure we'll be talking soon, and hopefully you guys can get going on your season. And best of luck once that does happen.
Hey, appreciate you guys. Stay safe out there.
All right,
Thanks
take care.
for all
Thanks,
you do.
Coach.
Appreciate it.
Hey, bye-bye.
All right, guys. So GBA
What's on the
Nation,
agenda for the week?
Yep. Once again, the great talk there with Katie Smith, and I love the little piece that she talked about, with kids right now. What can you be doing, Jeff? That was a great point that you made, and hopefully that everyone out there listening and players, take that advice. You can be out there working on your game, get in the driveway. She said jumping rope, running around the block, running your hills. Take advice from somebody that's made it all the way to the top.
Yeah, and John, I love how she also said when she's at our tournaments, just looking at all the kids and just wondering, hey, who's the next one that's really going to make that jump like she was able to do? So, put in the work, and you never know.
Absolutely. So, with that being said, we want to thank Katie for taking the time to join us tonight. She's got a lot going on, with there right now, trying to figure out their season, get things going, just finished up the draft. So tomorrow night, at 5:30, make sure you tune in. Tommy, another one of our favorites, Coach Ronnie Grandison of the RG Basketball Academy will be joining us on here, talking about basketball. I'm sure we're going to be picking Ronnie's brain, some things that kids can be doing now. If you follow Ronnie on his social media pages, he's been putting up videos and little drills you can be doing. We were looking forward to being there. Obviously it's going to be time, but just build a brand new 6-court facility there in Cincinnati. So we're very excited to be talking with Coach Ronnie Grandison tomorrow at 5:30. So make sure you set your reminders and tune in tomorrow for that show.
Right, and then we're going to also, hopefully this weekend or sometime in the near future, be announcing like the schedule that we have so far, what we plan on doing, but we're kind of waiting to see where everything ends up and when we're allowed to get into the gyms, and then we will put, a schedule together. But the good thing is, we're pretty sure that we have secured a place in Columbus as soon as the ban is lifted. And we do have places in Dayton and Cincinnati as well. So it looks like I think if everything works out, was on the phone today. Hopefully, we'll get those contracts secured and be able to host events along with some leagues, coming in the near future.
Yep. Just be patient with us. And, like I said, we've been trying to keep everybody informed. As soon as we know and get things together and finalize, we'll make sure everybody out there in GBA Nation knows. All right, guys.
Yep.
Hey, great show tonight. Thanks for joining us. Thanks for tuning in. And we look forward to being back on here tomorrow, 5:30 p.m. Coach Ronnie Granison, RG Basketball Academy, be joining us live. Take care. Thanks for joining us.